Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of today's guests, including Cory Schneider, standing by, brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Giants return to the LEC Sunday when they take on Wenatchee. Puck drop is 4 p.m. Grab a 6 or 12-game flex pack starting as low as $129. Get all the details at vancouvergiants.com/tickets. Cory Schneider is going to join us now. He is retired at the age of 37 after 16 seasons of pro hockey, 13 in the NHL, 5 memorable seasons with the Canucks, spent a couple with the Manitoba Moose as well, played in 5 games during the Canucks run to the 2011 Stanley Cup Final. Of course, he's played with the Devils and the Islanders, and Cory joins us now. Cory, thanks so much for doing this. How are you, sir?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Good. Very well. How tough was this decision, Cory?
Not that tough, actually, at the end of the day. I think the last couple of years, I've sort of known where I was at in my career, and I just wanted to continue playing after being bought out in the COVID year where I didn't really get a chance to play a whole lot, and I still felt like I had something in the tank. It just didn't feel like the right time then. But, I've kind of pushed as far as I can. It was a great experience with the Islanders organization, and I wish I'd had a little bit more of a chance to play in the NHL, but obviously with Sorokin and Varlamov here, they've stayed healthy and played great, so there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity there. But I understood that coming into it. I just felt, even at the American League level, playing well, which I did, and feeling good about myself, it did mean a lot to go out on those terms. And I think just as of now, it's just, the timing was right. My body, my mind just kind of ready to move on to the next phase, and just being home and being around the family and take that next step. You can't do it forever, and the game goes on without you. So, it's something I've understood. And, I made the decision a while ago, but it's kind of just coming out now. Obviously, when I wasn't playing hockey anymore this year, I figured people would put 2 and 2 together. So it's the right time for me and my family.
Okay, you mentioned the last few years, hip and groin injuries, well-documented family tragedy, just one NHL game since signing with the Islanders. So what have the last few years been like for you, Cory?
It's just been about, like I said, just knowing I can still do it. I think the one thing I heard from guys after I got bought out was, make sure you don't do it too soon, or if you feel like you can still play, get that out of you, because if you leave without knowing, then you're going to second guess it. So, again, it wasn't what I'd hoped for, maybe in terms of getting more chances to prove that I could play at the NHL level, even in a smaller role. But again, I was happy that I proved I could still play, and that it wasn't the wrong decision for me to do that in terms of hockey. But at this point, I've kind of got my fill. I didn't want to go back to the American League, and I know the NHL was a long shot. So at some point, you have to realize when it's time, and it was definitely time for me. So again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to continue to play, and I think that's all you can really ask for at the end of the day.
Man, you and Roberto made a lot of news during your 5 seasons with the Canucks. What sticks out, Cory? Your time in Vancouver.
Well, I love that because, I don't think we made a lot of the news. I think the news is just about us. I think it's well documented. I thought, we never, didn't get along. I think it wasn't us, poking at each other or complaining or whining. It was just the situation we were in. It was a good situation to be in, but obviously with the market and the team and the expectations, it was a big story. And I think we both understood that. So we just tried to go out there and push each other and be the best tandem we could be. And Roberto, obviously a Hall of Famer. I mean, for me, it was coming in with, my eyes wide open and my mouth shut, just trying to learn from him and see what made him, one of the best goalies of all time. And I think I benefited greatly from that, even though it might have affected my timeline or my career and my opportunities. I wasn't trying to think of it that way. It's a situation you get put in, and some guys get thrown in the fire way too soon, and it burns them out too early. So, again, it would have been great to have played sooner, of course, but I think that environment and that organization and the circumstances around those teams, just the popularity and the attention we got and the success we had, I think it was something that I'll never forget and was really grateful to have, because as soon as I left Vancouver, I never got back to that point in my career. So you can't take it for granted. And I tried not to in the time. And like I said, I think it made me a better goalie at the end of the day.
Cory, you said you met a lot of friends for life in this journey of hockey. You mentioned a lot of players, including Alex Edler and Chris Higgins. Talk about your relationship with those two.
Yeah, I think that was what was so special about that era of those teams. I know I kind of came in a little bit later than some of the core guys, but Alex is my age. We got drafted the same year. We still joke about meeting each other at the draft, and he didn't really know any English, and so he's had a heck of a career too. I'm not sure if he's playing again this year or not, but yeah, they're just people that our wives and kids have gone along and known each other really well. And at that era, we were both we were all kind of just in Vancouver, a great place to live, to be young and not have kids yet. It was a great opportunity to socialize and do things together. And I think when you play on teams like that and you go on deep playoff runs and you have a lot of success, I think it strengthens those bonds with those guys. I'm still in touch with a lot of the guys I play with in Vancouver, almost more so than some guys I've played with recently. And I think it just goes to show you the kind of chemistry and the type of personalities we had on that team, because we all just got along so well. And I think we all pushed each other and understood what was expected out of one another. So it definitely led to some really close friendships. And, even some of the older guys who may not have been in my timeline, I still reach out to and talk to. And we're always kind of linked by that era of hockey in Vancouver.
I don't know if you know this, Cory. Yesterday, Luongo was named to the Ring of Honor in Vancouver, which is a big honor. And your thoughts on him going into the Ring of Honor in Vancouver?
I mean, I think it's well-deserved. Obviously, his legacy may be a little complicated to some people, but for me, he's one of the best, if not the best goalie to play in Vancouver in their history. So, maybe the time frame wasn't long enough to have his uniform retired, but I think if you look back at the history of the franchise, several players stand out, obviously. The 70s and 80s, probably not my wheelhouse as much, but guys like Bure and Linden and, McLean, those kind of guys. And then you get on to this era of the Sedins and Roberto. I think they kind of, they personified that era of hockey in Vancouver. So I think it's very much deserved, if not, it could be more, but I understand, the circumstances surrounding it, and his time here was maybe a little bit shorter than it needed to be to get his jersey in the rafters. But I think, he really did a lot for this franchise and brought a lot of, positive attention in that sense and some great goaltending.
Talking with Cory Schneider. This is a little bit different, Cory. We had on a director by the name of Kat Jamie on our show yesterday. She's done a documentary on the Stanley Cup riot in Vancouver, the second of two Stanley Cup riots. It's called "I'm Just Here for the Riot." What were your memories of that? Where were you? How'd you get out of the building? That sort of thing.
It was really surreal. Obviously, we were all devastated by losing that game. It was just soul crushing, to have come that far and put in that much work and all the injuries guys were dealing with. It was, we all just were hanging out. We didn't want to leave the locker room. You didn't want it to be over. So, we were all just taking our time and everyone's family was there. Everyone was, we had people in the building. So, fortunately for us, we were in a rush. And I think eventually somebody sort of flipped on the TV and said, look what's going on outside. And they had some live shots of the riots and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't really know what to make of it. We didn't know how serious they were or not, but obviously it looked like it was pretty intense. And they finally came in and said, hey guys, they don't want you leaving the rink too soon. We'll get a room set up and you can go meet your families and your guests and, just we'll have a dinner and take your time because we might not get out of here that quickly. So I think the boys had a few extra beers in the hot tub or in the locker room before making their way up just to kill some time. And we were just watching in shock. We couldn't really believe it. So, it's sort of what gets remembered about that final in that Game 7. Unfortunately, I know it was a very tragic event and kind of a black mark for the city in a sense. But I think it wasn't all about that. I think there was a lot more to it than just the rioting. And I know having been other places, a lot of people always say, "Oh yeah, that's where the riots were," and we say, "Well, yeah, but a lot more went on than just the riot at the end." So unfortunately, it has taken on a life of its own, and rightfully so. Like I said, it was a big moment in the city's history. So. It'll be interesting to see how the documentary turns out and how it's portrayed. But for us, it was more of a just waited out a few hours and then we kind of went and did our thing. But you could definitely smell when you left the rink like tear gas or whatever was going on and smoke and stuff like that. So it was pretty, like I said, it was just surreal and coming off the emotions of losing Game 7. It kind of added to all of it, but it didn't really take away much of the pain from losing the Cup final there.
What kind of a statement are you making with that Patriots hat? How big of a Patriots fan are you?
I mean, I've been pretty lucky that my sophomore year in high school was 2001 when they won their first Super Bowl. So I've been in the golden era of Boston sports, minus the Bruins Stanley Cup. Obviously, that one I don't count. So I still wear the Pat stuff proudly. I've been in a tough spot in New Jersey, New York, and now Connecticut, where you're kind of mingled in with Jets and Giants and New York fans. So I have to wear it pretty proudly. I used to get a lot of heat in Jersey. I'd be leaving the rink and fans would see my hats and say, "Well, you're not a Jets or Giants fan." I'm like, "No, I'm from Boston. Why would I ever root for the Jets or Giants?" So, I'm not quite an a-hole Pats fan, but I definitely defend the logo, even though they're struggling now the last few years post Brady. I'll never take for granted those 20 years we had, obviously, from going through, being in cities like Vancouver. You're still waiting for your first one, so I don't complain about 6 at all. I'll wear it pretty proudly.
Was that strange for you, Cory, being from Boston? I don't know what kind of Bruins fan you were, but was that strange in 2011 for you?
Yeah, it was very awkward. Not awkward. I grew up a Bruins fan, but I think once I turned pro, you sort of lose that allegiance. You stop rooting for a pro team. You're obviously rooting for the team you're with. So I was obviously Vancouver, through and through. Um, and then once that final just really not soured me, but it was tough. It was a nasty series. The fan base, even people I knew, were just giving me a hard time. It's all in good fun, but I mean, at some points, you're like, oh man, I get why people strongly dislike Boston fans, which can be pretty obnoxious sometimes. So it definitely, even, maybe not root against them, but I wasn't a big Bruins proponent for a long time after that series. I think that's a good thing. I think that's what I said the other day. It's like sports hate that doesn't exist anymore. It's where two teams hate each other in sports. And, as people, they're all great guys. I met a lot of them and know a lot of them. So they're all perfectly fine people. But once the jerseys go on, it's like, oh man, you just want to beat them so badly. And, but they've had a heck of an organization, so they've definitely had a lot of success since then. So I can't knock them for that. They've done a great job. So it's been tough to watch sometimes, as no longer being a Bruins fan.
Hey, Corey, I bet you're going to get a ton of calls. Goalie coach, be our goalie coach. You're such a great interview. You can go into the media. What does the future hold?
That's a good question. That's the exciting, I think, part about now. It's that, fortunately, I'm at a point where I don't have to do anything. I don't have to jump into something right away just to do it or to, earn money right away. So that's a blessing that we're in that spot. But yeah, I mean, it's something I've had to think about the last few years. Obviously, as you get closer to the end, you start making connections or reaching out to people or just starting laying a foundation of what's to come next. So, yeah, I mean, media has been an option. I've had a few offers or requests for some TV stuff, maybe part-time this year, just to stay in the game and stay relevant. I think once you get out of it for too long, it's hard to jump back into it or for your name to mean as much. So I think, trying to stay in and around the game at some point this year is a good idea, just if that's something that works out going forward. But yeah, I mean, I got a finance degree in college. So if something along those lines, sports business or finance in some other regards. So it's just right now, taking time and just sort of decompressing. It's nice to not have the anxiety or the crunch of racing to training camp and commuting and, being in that mindset and just, being home and being present with the family and the kids and just sort of enjoying that time, which I haven't had. My wife is saying we've never really had weekends available in a long time. And it's true because it's always been centered around hockey. So just to be able to go do normal family stuff together and see the kids do their thing as they're getting older. They're almost 6 and 8. So they're getting to that phase where it gets busy. So, in that sense, I'm not in any real rush to jump into something full time. I just did a heck of a grind of a schedule for 16 years, which was tough on my family as well. So to kind of take a step back from that, immediacy and moving and, packing and doing all that, it's a nice feeling right now. So like I said, I'm just sort of weighing my options and being a little picky if I can be.
Yeah.
Finance degree. You're way too smart to get into broadcasting.
Oh,
stay away from our business. Corey, thanks for this. You look and sound happy with your decision, and we can't thank you enough for joining us.
You got it, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You bet.